All right, SuperCoaches, welcome back to the official AFL SuperCoach podcast. Your in and out guide to the greatest game on earth. That's right, SuperCoach. I'm your host, Jaymz Clements, the host of the AFL Today show as well. And joining me today, we've got three of the greatest SuperCoach minds going. We've got Patch over there. What's going on, Patch?
Me, a great mind? No, you're too kind.
Look, it has been said. Like, I'm directly quoting myself. And we've also got Al Paton. What's going on, Al?
Hi, g'day, James. Yes, great to be back. Best 22, I'm not sure about this best 22. I think we just stick with best 18. That would have treated my team a lot better this year.
Can we go best 4? Just best 4.
Well, best 3. My score was looking really good after those first 3 guys.
Yeah, Al went early guns and it was got pretty hairy after that. And anyway, we're also going to bring on the Phantom later on to talk all the Bubble Boys. And before we jump in, of course, remember to sign up to SuperCoach Plus for all your live scores, break-evens, all the good stuff. Stay on top of it with the SuperCoach Plus. And, of course, codesports.com.au to read all the smart things that our battery of SuperCoach writers write down. You can follow Al at @AlSuperFooty. That's _SuperFooty. And Patch to the max for Patch. Let's do it. Round 7, the wrap. Heroes and villains, gentlemen. My hero was Max Gawn. We were on this early, right? Very easy, very simple. Al and I sat here during the live stream for the Anzac Day clash last Thursday, just happy and solid in the knowledge that Gawn had locked that away. It was fantastic. The villain, and the reason that I scored 2,207 was me, because Massimo D'Ambrosio did not play, and I managed to completely forget, whilst out with the kids Sunday morning, to bring in Will Phillips and got myself a donut out of nowhere. Absolute Moronville. So breaking my heart.
Are you letting the kids off the hook here?
No, they're in for one this week. They're going to be in charge of all things SuperCoach this week. They might do a better job than me, though. Al, what was your score?
Yeah, not a whole lot better than that. 2,216. Yeah, a bit of a slide down the rankings for me. I've had a really good start to the year, so I guess I was probably due for a down game, and I did start the round pretty well as I broadcast on Twitter or X, which came back to haunt me. I feel like maybe you're watching the Melbourne Cup and you get the in the sweep, you get the 90-1 horse, and they're like 5 lengths in front after the first lap, and you think, this is unbelievable. I'm going to get, and then, just all falls in a heap, and maybe looking at something like that, but hopefully we can get back on the horse this week. But hero Tom Green, your man, bounced back in a massive way. Yeah, those Anzac Day games were pretty kind to me, 159 points for Tom. The villain, there was plenty to choose from here. Jack Steele, 70 points, but he did have a very heavily strapped knee. Hopefully St Kilda gives us some kind of explanation as to what's going on there. Jeremy Sharp, I was hoping to keep for a few more weeks to make some money, but he's got to go real quick all of a sudden. I had to play him on the field, 44 points again. Yeah, best 22 hurting me there. But I'm going with Tom Powell. We might get into the some of the stats on this a little bit later, but 49 points, back in playing basically forward pocket for North Melbourne at the moment. Definitely not the sort of top 6 forward material that we were hoping when we got him in a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, not exactly peppering the forward 50 North. Not a giant role for Tom Powell at this point. It is brutal. And Patch, heroes, villains, score.
Score 2,272.
Nice.
Which was, if you'd asked me on Thursday night if that was a score I'd be happy with, I'd have said yes, sure. And the top score for the round, 2,600, which is a big number and a bigger number than I scored. So I slid some ranks. Like you, Al, and like a lot of people, sitting pretty after a couple of games.
Pretty in pink? I don't know where we get pretty. That always.
I don't know. I don't know, man. Caleb Sarong is my hero. You pinched Tom Green from out from under the nose. He scored 140, has been very, very good to start the season. So he's the hero for me this week. And the villain, Brodie Grundy.
What was that?
Brodie Grundy.
Oh, so you're now trying to tell me, Patch.
Maybe it might have been Brodie.
That your villain this week was actually Brodie Grundy.
What did he score, Patch? He scored 83, which is slightly less than the near 160 he got last week. But I had prepared a statement on the Brodie Grundy situation, just because I was advised that I should get all my thoughts down rather than ramble off the top of my head. So last week I made triumphant comments around Brodie Grundy's score, which I now regret. I claimed I was the, quote, most correct a man has ever been, end quote. a claim which is obviously untrue, mistakenly thinking I could say anything confidently on a podcast purely for the hashtag content. As such, myself and everyone who has held Grundy has incurred the wrath of the Supercoach gods with his 83, and they are not benevolent gods. I make an unreserved apology to everyone for my comments and will be taking no further questions on Brodie Grundy at this time.
Now, Patch. This is where we should swarm in for the press conference. I like that. Very well said and very, very nice mea culpa. You'll pay that. Of course, yes. I've still got Brodie Grundy as well. Breaking my heart. But I will tell you, Tom Green, he came very close to being my hero as well, if only for the simple fact that he does have the Tom Green Pavilion there in Manukau. Yep. I love that.
They've got the Tom Green fan club in Canberra.
I'm all about this. How do I join? Can someone let me know? I need to join.
We asked Phantom.
I think he's still on the waiting list.
He's still on the waiting list. He's like the MCC waiting list, but with a longer time frame. So,
man, can someone just boost us up there? Like, I will go to Canberra at the drop of a hat, hang there, smash some tins, hang it on the hill, just cheering on Tom Green. I'll do it. Let's go. Come on, Tom Green. Anyway, without any more Tom Green, let's do some SuperCoach news. This one is important to me here, Al. The most handsome man in the AFL, Rosie, pinged a bit of a hammy, seemingly, in that game for Port on the weekend. He had 19 touches to that point as well. Had a tough SuperCoach outing, 91-ish, wasn't it?
Correct.
What are we looking at right now?
I don't think Port has actually, as of Monday, ruled him out for the showdown, which is Thursday night. But I think I'd be surprised if he plays. So maybe it's just a week off for Connor. So if you've got him, unlucky because he was looking pretty good when he got injured. But I would just sit him on the bench and hopefully you've got some decent bench cover to just bring on this Thursday. The
answer to that is no, I don't. So good job, everybody. Anyway, we've also got Cody Waitman, who hurt his arm, and Riley West as well, which is a bit of a tough one. It's kind of like, in terms of SuperCoach news, the Dogs and their small forwards, you kind of just steer clear of them anyway. But how are we looking about this one?
Well, yeah, so the other guys that I've got written down here are not so much relevant in terms of people probably having them in their teams, but they might affect other players. If you look at, sort of domino effects and what roles players have. So Cody Waitman being out for probably looks like 6+ weeks after some surgery on that elbow, and Riley West taking his 1-match suspension might spare Riley Garcia, who was... Bevo revealed after the game on the weekend he was going to be the sub until Libba pulled out. So dodged a little bit of a bullet there. And so you'd think that makes his job security a bit iffy going into this week. But with those guys out of the team, Libba will come back in, you'd think. But hopefully Garcia might keep his spot and play a full game in what'll be his bubble game. He's got a pretty low break even after some decent scores in those two that he played. Similar story at Richmond, Jacob Hopper, another Richmond midfielder going down 2 to 3 weeks out with a hamstring. So Kane McAuliffe, I was a little bit surprised he was dropped last week, but you'd think he'd be the obvious replacement to come in for Hopper. So he'll be on the bubble if he does do that. So another option potentially is a cheapie for us. And the massive one, which I'm sure we'll get into in this week's Talking Points and with the Phantom, is Ivan Soldo. Again, a player that you wouldn't probably have in SuperCoach, but out for a little while. I don't know if we have an exact time frame on it, but getting a bit of a knee clean out, and that means Jordon Sweet comes in as the number one ruckman at Port Adelaide. And anytime you get a $150,000 sort of bench backup who suddenly gets thrust into the number one ruck role, you have to pay attention in SuperCoach. We know they can always score well and make a lot of money, and Sweet certainly got off to a pretty good start on the weekend.
Most def. I love the idea.
I did Google what Soldo had, and Dr. Google said 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So take of that what you will on the Sweet front.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. The Hopper thing as well is interesting, right, for Richmond, because they've still got, they are the walking wounded, but they still have the likes of, Shea Bolton, Dusty, still floating around, right? And they are still relatively SuperCoach relevant, at least Shea is sometimes. Dusty, not so much, but it is looking very, very bare for the Tigers, Al. Yeah,
it's going to be a long year. Expose some of the kids, the ones who aren't injured, can get some games. So Morris Rioli Jr., one of my favourites. I don't think you'd go near him this year in SuperCoach, although if you'd picked him at the start of the year, he's been okay, and he was getting up the ground, taking some intercept marks on the weekend, so that gave me a little bit of joy out of, it's a pretty rough time down there.
Nice. Biggest talking points heading into round 8, post round 7. Obviously, Jordon Sweet. We kind of hit on this. He's 158,000. He ripped off 136 against the Saints on the weekend. That's not bad.
That's right.
Minus 113 for a break even. I don't know. That's pretty tasty. Just saying. Patch, do we need him? Do we want him?
Yeah.
How do we get him?
Yes. I don't know. I just I've seen a lot of people trading, say, a Brodie Grundy to him.
Just to pick a name.
This week. Yeah, just to pick a random name, any name out of a hat. Trading whoever they've got at R2. You keep your Max Gorney, Tim English, whoever, and you flick whoever else you've got down to Jordon Sweet. He's going to average 80, 90 in that role, you'd put conservatively, which is better than pretty much all my other rookies and all the other rookies. So the argument is you take that cash, you turn it into a primo elsewhere, you run Sweet until Soldo's back, and then you just pick up another ruck just off the lawn somewhere.
What if you're in my situation, or if people, if you wanted to keep Grundy, or you've got two on-field rucks that you're happy with and don't really want to trade one of them out to maybe Sweet and then a month later have to trade them back in, could you just pick Sweet and stick him on your bench and just take the money, even though it would be frustrating if you'd had him there this week and he's scoring 50 more points than your $600,000 ruckman who you've got on field? But
yes, it would have been. Yes, I can't imagine who that would have happened to.
But yeah, just purely for the cash, is that a worthwhile move?
Yeah. Oh, I think the cash is more important than anything, and we're seeing our rookies dry up in terms of cash generation. Some of them are starting to lose cash, which we'll talk about a bit more later on. And they're just not quite getting up to that 350K mark that's really juicy when you can cut them. They're kind of hitting 300 and then running into the brick wall. So, yeah, I think any chance we can get to jump on cash generation, we need to bring Jordon Sweet in this week is how I see it.
Nice one. I am just flabbergasted about how I'm going to pull him in. It's weird. I think I have to do the Grundy trade. I don't want to, but I think you're going to twist my arm here, Patch.
Yeah, I think if you've got like a Cohen Livingston on your bench, you can trade someone else out and swing him forward, and then when you trade him back out, you just flick Livingston back into that role. And I think that's the easiest way to do it. But if you do still have Luke Jackson and you'd want to get rid of Brodie Grundy, and gee whiz, I'm not going to tell you not to do that because I've said I'm not making any more statements on Brodie Grundy forever. But I don't know. It's a thing you could do legally.
My head is in a vice at this point. Tom Powell, take us through it, Al.
Yes.
Role change. What do you have to do here?
Yeah, we did touch on this. Looking up his stats on the weekend, he's been North's number 2 centre bounce player for the whole season up until now, just behind LDU. And on the weekend, his centre bounces dropped from 77% to 14%. Ooh. Basically stationed in the forward line. Came in a little bit late in the game, but didn't really do much anyway. Had 10 disposals and 1 tackle, and he's been getting a lot of his points through tackles. He had about 16 in one game. And obviously a lot easier to do that when you're at the centre bounces, a bit congested, you're around the ball. And as you say, it's a bit of a wasteland down in the North forward line. So this is a really tough one. I picked him hoping he might be just good enough to almost keep in the forward line. If he's not top 6, he might be, top 10 around the mark. That looks a long shot now. At least he could make some money, but now he's potentially going backwards in terms of cash gen. So it's a bit hard to know what is going on down at North. Obviously, Clarko's trying a few things out. We saw Harry Sheasel get a few centre bounces on the weekend. Colby McKercher was back to the back line, which worked out all right for him. But how serious is this Tom Powell situation, Patch? Do we need to just flick him ASAP, or do you try and assess, give it another week or two to see what Clarko's doing?
I mean, we can kind of look at the team sheets as well to give us a clue, because as, James, you like saying, there's too many dudes in that midfield. And I think it was a case of Clarko swinging some magnets around and just trying some more dudes out in there. And
Paul Curtis got some centre bounces.
Yeah, maybe they're just trying to throw spaghetti at the wall and see if it's ready yet. I don't...
Just they weren't any better last week either. It's just this is literally Titanic deck chairs. That's all it is at this point. It's killing me. But anyway.
So, I will be waiting for team sheets, but the fact that he is that elevated price does mean that if you trade him up to someone else, he's now, what I said last week was that he was scoring better than the rookies, so I want to keep him. And he scored worse than most of my rookies this week. So, do I give him another chance? Maybe not. If you can loop him, that's not a situation where you want to be looking at keeping a guy. So wouldn't begrudge anyone for trading him. I'll be waiting till the team sheets just to get a bit more of a hint as to what the direction is for North Melbourne, but I don't think they know. I don't think they're across it. I don't know.
You don't think that Alistair Clarkson is sitting there going, oh, geez, I could really use a boost in my draft. Who should I play in the middle this week? McKercher, in you go. Fallen primos, though, we're hitting to that really, really nice spot of the season. What are we? Round 8. Buys in 4 weeks or so. Round 12, I think we kick off the next round. Fallen primos. Who are you targeting here, Al? You've got the likes of Tom Green that have dropped dramatically. Jordan Dawson. 2 words I wasn't expecting to say. Bailey Dale. Oh, geez. Not going to touch that one on the 10 football. But my favourite one, the Bont. Yes, mate. Let's go. Tinglish, Petrarca, Clayton Oliver, question mark. Who are we looking at, Al? Who do you want to put on that shopping list for Fallen Primos?
Yeah, well, it is a long shopping list. I've made a list here, and Patch has even outdone me with the one he's brought in today too. But this is really the name of the game that we can't pick all of these top price guys at the start of the year, and sometimes you might make a strategic decision to say not pick Bontempelli because he's over $700,000 and the way Supercoach works is that if you have a very high price tag, you've got to score a lot of points to stay there. And Bont's been going quite well, maybe not as well as last year. And he's dropped $110,000 from his starting price. So now if you didn't start him, you can pick him up for just $614,000. So this is the time to pounce. And those other names that you talked about, Tom Green had 1 or 2 down games, and all of a sudden he's down to $570,000. And you're watching their break evens when they start to turn it around. Green has a break even of 91 this week. Jordan Dawson has already started going back up. He's got a break even of 24. So that's, you judge, we need to jump on these guys because the price is going back up again. So there's plenty on that list. I mean, Dale is the cheapest at $457K. But it's that whole Bevo situation. I was looking at his scores. They've actually been quite good for the year. He had 1 pretty average game, and then he was the sub the next week and scored about 10 points, and then he's sort of scored 150 since then. So very hard to get a read on him. He looks fantastic and he's cheap. So you could definitely go there, but who knows what will be happening in the Bulldogs team in the next week or two. Bond, if you don't have him in English, is under 600K, which is absolutely massive. But now with Sweet there, probably you don't need him right now. You could probably just park that one for a couple more weeks. Petrarca would probably wait a week or two. He's got a huge break even this week. But yeah, plenty of really interesting names there. One that would be probably cheating to put on the list because I think he's dropped $600 from his starting price is Caleb Sarong, who you mentioned. But still at around 620.
He's technically fallen. He has fallen.
Still 620K, I think, is pretty good value for the way he's scoring. But yeah, you probably, I'm in a situation where I'd probably need a boost to get him, whereas in 2 trades I could probably get a Dawson. So those are the things you've got to try and weigh up. But who have you got on your list that I've missed?
A lot of guys you spoke about. Jordan Dawson's the one that really interests me. After last week, I was going to go him and then flicked around to get Walsh in. So Dawson's probably the one I'm really interested in, especially with the showdown. You feel like he lifts for that. One on my list, LDU. We've spoken about trading him out for a little while, and he scored 110, 115 on the weekend. Break even of 84. He's 518K. Yeah. Do ya? He's averaging 97 for the year. Is this the uptick? Is this where it starts to tick up?
It's so tempting, isn't it? LDU. I'm like, he's a proven scorer. But again, too many dudes in that North thing. I just couldn't trust it. So basically, I don't want too many of the, especially when it comes to the Premier. Like, Sheasel is like a lock and load. We're all good. The LDU question it's just going to hurt so much when he has like an absolute Barry Crocker shocker and like drops like an 80. And you're like, come on, man. What are we doing here?
We've talked about a lot of North Melbourne players this season, and most of them haven't really gone that well. So maybe the lesson is just, Harry Sheasel and leave the rest of them.
Yep.
Yeah. Darcy Parish is on my list at 493K, breaking even of 74. So you'd think he'd go up next week, but I'd want to have one more look just to see if he can back up that 125 from Anzac Day. Clayton Oliver has turned up once this year. Until he turns up a second time, I'm not even going to think about it.
So he's
466K.
466. He's got a break even though still of 120 this week, right? So you at least go. If he turns up but doesn't top that 120, you've gone, okay, we might be back in the Clayton Oliver business. Before then, no chance.
Yeah, no, I need to see it before I jump on. So
he could be the sort of guy you could, maybe the buys are a few weeks away, but he's not going to, unless he gets on a massive tear, he could still be, 500,000, and maybe he's the guy that you just, need someone cheap to finish off your midfield.
Yeah, I'd rather pay more to know that he's back rather than jump on now and, risk it's value, but also it's value because he's bad. So I don't know, maybe he gets himself right. We hope he does because it's good for football.
The Bailey Dale question as well there, Patch. I know you've done some back of the envelope calculations. How do you feel about this?
Bad. Bad. He was the sub. Like, I don't, without knowing the clear reason why, I'm always then worried that it'll happen again, even though he scored 175, 132 in his last 2 games, has a break-even of negative 45,
wow.
which, at 450K is astronomical, but I'm real worried about it. I would rather have somebody I could confidently lock in and go, right, you're going to be there, you're going to play every week. I don't have to worry about if you're going to get dropped for, taking the last can, like Pringle out of the can in the Bulldogs cafeteria. Like, I don't want to ride that roller coaster. We've got a bunch of other guys who are pretty cheap. Tom Stewart next week should be about 500K.
Yeah, that's
He's
great.
538 at the moment with a break even of 138. So he'll drop, 510, 515, which is very cheap. Andy McGrath is 517K with a break even of 54, has one score below 95 for the year, averaging 106. So he's someone I've been like, Redmond will pick up and they'll, change it around when Ridley's back, and, Ridley hasn't come back yet, but they're still using him a lot, getting a lot of the ball. He's someone I'm really interested in down back. And Hayden Young, 437K as well, is quite good. So I'd rather those guys at a little bit more cash, if you can afford it, than to ride the Bailey-Dale roller coaster. But if you've got more guts than I do, it could pay off handsomely.
We're talking about, so we've got Clarko and we've got, Bevo's a known magnet spinner. And we say, Libba's coming back this week. What does that do to their mix? He's been playing Ed Richards as a centre bounce midfielder. And what does that send him back to defence? Where does that leave Bailey-Dale? Yeah,
there's Bailey-Dale the sub. Is he small forward now that Riley West is out for a week?
Yeah.
Does he play in the ruck for a bit?
He's playing in the BFL this week. Who knows? It's chaos. The one other one that I wanted to throw out there was Max Holmes. So he got the DPP spot as of last week as a defender. And he is one that I've kept my eye on. He's racked up, I think, 7 straight, maybe 8 straight games now of actually going back to last year. I think it's 9 straight games of at least 20 disposals, crushing it, and seems to just be one of the best movers of the ball that Geelong have. And every time you watch them, he stands out. And over the last few weeks, he's actually sort of gone, hang on a second, I'll also do some pretty good scoring. He ripped off 98 last week, 109 against the Blues this round. Started off the year with 112.95. So his lowest score so far is 84 at the G against Hawthorn. And with this weird dearth of defenders, he's priced at a very nice 485. Pretty good for like a kind of half-fallen primo. Could average like 95 to 100 the rest of the season, you'd think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'd rather him than Dale.
There we go.
I think he's a good shout.
Nailed it. All right, let's go check out some Bubble Boys with the Phantom right after this. Calling in from parts unknown. He's fresh of a couple of weeks, just hanging out, peeling oranges, probably for the under 14s out there somewhere in the hinterlands. It's the Phantom. What's going on, Phantom?
How old do you think I am? But it is good to be back. I spent my time not quite peeling fruit for junior footy, but watching Jordon Sweet dominate Adelaide Oval last weekend.
I'll tell you what. Should we start there, Al? What do you reckon?
Yeah, well, I think the Phantom might have been one of those very smart coaches that got Sweet in before his big score against the Saints last week. So do we all have to follow your lead?
Well, I think you have to now. I did jump on last week. Obviously, I ignored Patch's advice, as I do most of the time, and traded Brodie Grundy out a few weeks ago. So it opened up the option for me there, and it helped bring Luke Jackson back into the forward line. I think with Sweet, it just helps out that lack of on-field rookies that we can trust in the forward line. If you can move your ruckman down or do something else with that money, play Sweet on the field in the ruck, you won't be as exposed in the forward line. That's what I did last week, and that's what I think many super coaches can do going forward. And, that's on top of the money he's going to make as well. So we've seen as a number one man, 15 hit-outs to advantage last week. He can score on the field and help you that way. But with a very low break even and a good run at it, at least 3 to 4 weeks anyway, with Soldo out the side, then he's a good money maker, even if you can't get him on the field.
Are you worried about when Soldo comes back at all, Phantom?
We have to be worried. You have to think about when that might be and what might happen. But I think you can make money anyway. I think you trade in Sweet this week. You have to be aware of what might happen in a month's time and sort of factor that into any future trade plans and look at the projections, SuperCoach Plus, you can see them there, what he might get to in 3 or 4 weeks and how you'd use that money at that point.
Nice one. Yeah, you can't really sniff at a minus 113 break even, just saying. Right, the other rookie options, who are you looking at? We've got names like Riley Garcia, Jake Rogers, Toby Conway, Lee Kalia. Where are you landing this week?
Well, there's not much, let's be honest. Unfortunately, for super coaches out there, Riley Garcia, you mentioned, negative 74 break even, the second lowest in the competition. 9 contested possessions on the weekend for the Dogs. Started slow. I know Al had him on field. I sat through virtually with Al, the pain he went through early on, but he really had some nice moments to finish that game. It was a pretty good performance, 64 Supercoach points for him. But the worry, and it's always the worry, Luke Beveridge, I think, mentioned post-match that Garcia was probably going to be the sub if Tom Liberatore played, which we know he pulled out with illness. So that's an issue. Can he make enough money if he's the sub? Can we trust Bevo? We know the answer to that one. So I do prefer Jake Rogers, the young son. He's a bit more expensive. He struggled in that first week we saw, but 98 Supercoach points for him on the weekend, 22 touches, 13 contested possessions, and like he reeled off at junior level, 4 score assists. So very good at getting involved forward of centre and getting his teammates into the play, into the game and onto the scoreboard, which we know equals Supercoach points. 148k for him. I do like him as an option. Maybe we can trust him a little bit more than we can with Riley Garcia. Also, ours man, I want to find out, Kane McAuliffe was dropped last week. He's 117k. His omission ruined a lot of Supercoach trade plans. Is he back?
Yeah, I mentioned this earlier that I think with Hopper out, he should come into the team, but then you've got Dion Prestia maybe a week or two away, so it's always a little bit dicey. He's obviously about the 23rd player in the side. I think he was dropped last week, but then held over from the VFL. He didn't play VFL, so he was obviously the next guy off the ranks if a Libba sort of situation had have happened. So they like him, and he plays that inside mid-roll, which should score okay in Supercoach. So it really just comes down to availability week to week. And if he gets his chance, I think I'd be tempted to put him in there. But yeah, it gets a little bit dicey when you went a week early on Sweet, I went a week early on Garcia, and there's not much. I mean, any of the other guys, any interest? Alika Lear's probably not getting it done, is he? I mean, Toby Conway at the Cats, but they're a bit of a revolving door in the ruck. Is there anyone else out there?
Well, not really. Not on unless he went. Darcy Jones from the Giants, who was very, very good on debut in Canberra there, 123k forward, scored 75. But he's only played one game, and we've seen it even this year. Supercoaches have come unstuck by going early on these kids. Although at this point it looks like Darcy Jones will be given a run, given how impressive he was and how impressed Adam Kingsley was post-match with Jones' performance. Still a risk going early because, we saw that with McAuliffe. Supercoach went early on McAuliffe, got dropped. And like Al said, there's no guarantee to come back in. Then you've got some more deadwood on your bench. So maybe you wait a week on those types. You have to maybe get creative too. Some other money trains going around. You mentioned Bailey Dale, I'm sure at the top of the show. Negative 45 break even, the 4th lowest in the comp. We talk about money trains. You could potentially just pick him as a money-making option. It's not your bottom end, but could you trade a Matt Roberts to him for 75k to then cash in maybe he gets to 550, almost 600, another big score if it doesn't work out. At worst, you've got a good scoring option if it does continue.
Just one other little thing here, Phantom. Could we feasibly get Colby McKercher back into our sides if we've traded him out?
Well, Al tells me 100% in defence last week. Clarko's got him back there. This is the role we were hoping for pre-season. We heard all the talk about their high draft pick settling into the Harry Sheezel, Nick Dacos role. Problem was he was playing the same team as Harry Sheezel, but Clarko's mentioned over the past couple of weeks the need to fast-track Sheezel's graduation, if you like, into the midfield. Zach Fisher, we saw, was the sub who also plays in that halfback role on the weekend. So McKercher could be ahead of him. And I think McKercher is the man for the future, not Zach Fisher. So 250k, it does align with that different thinking. You need to at least consider this week to make some money. So I don't mind it.
Nice one. We've got a big showdown this weekend as well, Al. I know that you're sort of pretty sweet on Jordan Dawson as a bit of a VC option. How do you feel about all this, Phantom, with the Port and the Adelaide game on Thursday night?
Huge week. Adelaide, the centre of the footy world again for the second time in a month. Thursday night prime time finally get what it's deserved, the game. I like Jordon Dawson. We know he's got a huge record in showdowns. Left Willem Drew in the dust last year as well with a big score. Willem Drew hasn't been doing as much tagging anyway, so might not have to worry about that. Rory Laird bounced back last week with a return to the centre bounce action. So definitely worthwhile trade option. Zach Butters, if you got him too, we know he's been big in showdowns before, likes the big stage. So my VC will definitely be on Thursday night this week. And as a Jordon Dawson trader last week, we're going to him for me.
Very nice. Anything else there for Phantom Al?
No, I think he's covered off most of the bases there. Yeah, I was going to ask about who might be on the horizon next week, but you talked about Darcy Jones, and then it does seem to dry up a bit after that. But then we didn't know Jordon Sweet was all of a sudden going to become a must-have with a -100 break even. So they do tend to bob up out of somewhere or nowhere. But another couple would be handy in the next couple of weeks.
Indeed, and opportunity when injuries happen, opportunity arises for these guys. Important to keep an eye on it, keep a track. Will be across the numbers at the lower levels. Riley Harden, we didn't touch on as well, made his debut for the Kangaroos on the weekend. Again, plays across half-back. So look at him this week and just see how he fits in and if he's going to stay in Clarko's long-term plans back there, because there's a lot of those types that are getting around in the Kangaroos side.
Yeah, Cooper Simpson, another one I'm really looking at from Freo as well. They love him over there.
Sidestep Simpson.
That's the one.
Very nice. All right, there we go. Thanks, Phantom. That was very good. I am just punting all my bubble boys to the absolute curb at this point. It's going to get pretty dicey in about 2 weeks, I reckon. But either way, thanks for jumping on. We'll catch you later this week, huh?
It's all about the money. See you guys.
All right, a big thanks to the Phantom. I'll tell you what, he's looking pretty good after the time off. You can't tell because he's the Phantom, though. Well, that's how it works. Right. Quickfire round. Let's go. Patch. Rank him. Jai Caldwell. Rankine. Isaac Rankin. We're ranking Rankine. Liam Baker, Jack McRae, Dylan Moore. For a couple of weird forward options, rank them for me. Quick.
Very quick. All right. Dylan Moore, because he's a bit cheaper. He's $462K. Really like him. Liam Baker will get more midfield time and he's defence and forward eligible. That's fun. You can swing him around. You can just, it's a bit fun. Isaac Rankin, I just think he's neat. I just think he's going to, over the journey, we'll have games where he scores 60, games where he scores 130. He'll be up there in total points from the rest of the year. 493K, under 500K. Showdown, big stage? I don't know. Jai Caldwell, I'm worried about Will Setterfield coming back and Archie Perkins coming back and just getting slightly less mid-time. But he's still under 500K, averaging 92, been very good the last 4 weeks. I think I like him. Jack McRae, we've spoken about Ballydown. See above, scroll back a bit, just replace Bailey Dale's name with Jack McRae. And
insert Jack McRae here. That's pretty good.
Yeah, they're my 5.
Nice one. How do you feel about that, Al?
I won't go through the whole list, but yeah, and I think Dylan Moore has always been on the cusp of maybe being a primo in SuperCoach, but Hawthorn's a tricky team with they've got a lot of young midfielders that they're sort of trying to figure out who they want to play through there. But definitely has the capability of doing it. Still a bit of a sucker for Jack McRae, but I didn't get him this week, and it's probably a smart move because he didn't score that great.
Yeah.
Righto. Who are we keeping, Zach Williams or Massimo D'Ambrosio? Al.
A lot of people trading one or both of these guys out last weekend or this week. I kept them both. Had to cover Massimo off the bench with Buku Karmas. Didn't really work for me. Williams was okay in the end. Just crept up above his break-even. Made $7,000 profit. So it was
make
worth
it rain, Al. Make it rain.
One more week. So I probably will trade one of those guys this week. It's a tough one because D'Ambrosio's got, about 15K extra, which might be handy. You might need that in a trade, but probably I'd prefer to keep him just with a lower break-even.
Yeah, he could make another 15K
Yeah,
as well.
Managed on the weekend is a worry, but Hawthorn was so ordinary that you'd think surely he comes back in and gets some decent game time there and maybe Zach's done his job.
Yeah, and you'd rather Massimo be managed than be the sub for a week. So I'm not going to yell at Sam Mitchell about that. So
You could.
I mean,
Sam Mitchell might yell at you.
Yeah, I'm scared of Sam Mitchell, so
he might still be yelling. Luke Jackson or Jake Waterman? Who do we like here, Patch?
Luke Jackson.
Nice.
Well, I just pulled this out because Jake Waterman, when he scored about 170 against Richmond, it was like, this is ridiculous. It's like,
he's the 6th ranked forward, which feels like a psyop.
And he's got another 2 tons since then.
It feels like there's somebody just like fiddling with the matrix just to be like, are they going to notice? Are they going to notice that something's up?
First we'll check his hair. We'll change his hair. It looks awesome. Now he looks like the G-Train. This is fantastic. I'll change it a little bit more. Now he's a SuperCoach gun. We'll see if anyone notices. Here we go.
And it was just also a way to we've got to mention how annoyed we are at Luke Jackson, that he's just now he's playing mainly as a forward, which you kind of knew would happen with Darcy coming in. But even in that role, he's still pretty good for 3 quarters on Saturday night, and then just completely disappeared out of the game. Wasn't cited at all in the last quarter. So, yeah, he's a bit of a rough phone at the moment.
But he's still young. He's still, as a key forward, you don't tend to hit your straps until 24, 25, and he's still only, 22? So, I don't know. I'm not,
I'm sort of keeping him as a bit of ruck insurance as well, but is it weird that after this week, if I trade in Jordon Sweet, I'm going to have 5 rucks in my team? Do I need him?
You need more rucks.
Get all the rucks. What are you doing now?
Too many dudes, too many rucks. Just
get every single ruck. Elliot, Yo or Natalie? Nat Fife. How are we feeling about Yo or Fife? Who do we like the most? I mean, the price point obviously is the different here, right? Yo's been awesome. He's been shredding, but he's also just spiked in price. Nat ripped off the 119 or thereabouts last week. Who are we looking at here, Al?
I just thought, it's incredible that these two guys that we were a bit worried at the start of the year, can we trust them, injuries, all that kind of stuff, age, and they've both been unbelievable. Elliot Yeo is having the best season of his career, averaging 118 points. The best he's ever done before is 108, and he's now over 600K. So, I mean, we kept saying the last 2 or 3 weeks, you probably missed the boat, don't bring him in, but looking back, maybe we should have got him 2 weeks ago. He would have been $100,000 cheaper, and he's still just putting out these massive scores. I don't think he could jump on Fife now. If you've started him and kept him, that's turned out to be a really good move. But I still think he's a risk to get subbed or rested at some stage. I mean, Yo's about the 2nd or 3rd top defender at the moment.
He's incredible.
Can you make a case to trade him in?
Not at 600K, not with the injury concern. I want to. I toyed with it on Sunday night when lockout lifted and just kind of went, no, I just can't. Just can't quite do it. If you jumped on, well done. You're not jumping off, but
Smart.
I'm not. Yeah, smarter than me, but I'm not climbing on.
Right, the other big one. Crucially, I mentioned it earlier. Mid-year buys. When do we start thinking about it? Should you be planning for it right now, Al? Because I think I should. I had a look at mine just earlier. I'm like, I've cooked that. Not great. Yeah, round 14, I might just go over, sit down quietly in a corner somewhere and just have a cry. But otherwise,
there are more buys, which is a bit of a disappointing fact that we have to deal with. Lots of buys this year, and I've just put this on the list because Patch has been mentioning it, and I must admit I haven't put a whole lot of thought into it, but it seems like you have. Is that right?
Kind of. I'm whipping something together for Code Sports that'll hopefully go up this week on some buy strategy, which basically just distills down to the ancient proverb of the best time to start thinking about the buyers was 4 weeks ago, and the second best time is now. You've just got to try and make sure you're not overloading, and that should influence who you're trading in the next couple of weeks, because if you just load up on one buy, that's bad. And if you can spread the load, many buys make buys work.
That was good.
You heard it here
really
first.
Got right around that one.
Never going to hear it again.
I'm just sitting there trying to figure out, I can't get any more Suns into my team, or else I'll literally have no one playing on field in round 14. So that'd be good. Just before we get into it, though, with the captain's call for this week, boost or no boost this week, Al? How are we feeling?
We'll get to our trades shortly. I'm open to using a boost. I think upgrade season is the time. How many boosts
do you have left?
I've got 2 left.
2? Whoa.
So I think I can afford to potentially use one, but it's a matter of choosing one of those slightly discounted sort of primos, like a Jordan Dawson. Maybe Bailey Dale. You probably talked me out of him. That look has just told me, nope, not going there. Or do you use a boost to get Caleb Sarong, who I would really love to have in my team? Is it worth a boost? I haven't quite decided at this stage. The problem more is really I don't mind potentially using one to get him, but it means I would have to find another rookie from somewhere for that extra trade, which might be the tricky end of that one.
Nice one. Patch, boosting or no boosting?
I've got one boost left, and I told myself last week that, you get to use your second last boost this week. Set yourself up for next week. You don't need to use another boost. You just upgrade, downgrade the whole way through. Don't use that last boost unless it's for an injury. And all of my trades so far that I've played around with have involved using a boost.
Amazing.
So I'm trying not to, but I make no promises because I know who I am.
I like that. I'm boost rich. I've still got 3. I feel very good about myself. But
Well
at the same
done.
time, my team sucks. So maybe I should have boosted. Simple as that. Does somebody get Bevo this week? What do you reckon? Yeah, nah.
Well, hopefully it's not Riley Garcia. He's probably one of the leading rookie candidates for the week. I mean, James Harms is running around in that team. He had 6 kicks on the weekend. Well, exactly.
Is he?
Maybe Bevo's missed that as well because surely he's a sub candidate that's not going to hurt anybody except maybe Harms and his nearest and dearest.
I don't know, man. I've stopped trying to guess what the Bulldogs are doing, and it's made me a much happier person in body and soul. So, yes, someone will get bevoed, but hopefully it won't be me.
Nice one. Well, speaking of which, captain's call this week is a little bit tricky because we start off the week with a showdown on Thursday night. Rolling lockout begins then. We then have a massive game of Carlton Collingwood, so you can't exactly look. Carlton's transition defense has been los horrible, I believe the Spanish might call it. It is so the Dacos sort of option is there against the Blues. He hasn't scored great against them, I think, in the past.
No.
Though. So it's sort of like your Adelaide Port sort of showdown thing. You've got Dawson, you've got the likes of Butters, and then my initial thought was Heaney against Greater Western Sydney on Saturday afternoon in the Battle of the Bridge. Tom Green's also in that game, so I'm going to be hoping that I'm definitely going to pick the wrong one. Like I'm probably going to go one of those 2 guys for the VC and then try to be on top of it this time and actually see if we can get lock away Gawn up against Geelong at the MCG on Saturday evening. How do we feel about those ones, Al?
Yeah, I think those are all good options. I mean, I think Gawn is probably the standout just the way he's scoring this year and not quite sure what's happening with Geelong Rucks. He might be rucking against Toby Conway, which you think it'd be a pretty good matchup for him. The timing of the games is interesting because you sort of have to look at the fixture and when the zeros play if you're trying to use a loop. And a lot of us have Livingston from the Eagles. Now, he plays at 8:10 on Saturday night, which is 40 minutes after the Melbourne game starts. So
Yes.
you could sort of see how Gawn's going at quarter time and make a call. But yeah, it's probably a bit risky. So might need to find someone in one of the earlier games and then have Gawn as the backup.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm going for at this stage. Unless you've got a loop lying around from one of the Sunday games, yeah, I think Gawn's probably the captaincy option, and then he's projected for 162. Makes your projected score look real nice when the captaincy's on him. And I think there's a lot of fun options in those early games. We've got even Harry Sheasel against North Melbourne, halfback against St Kilda. Who, halfbacks have been tearing it up against them. That was the Baileydale 170, 175. So, he's an option as well. I quite like a Jordan Dawson in the showdown. I think I'm going to use a VC in the showdown because I feel like they really do lift for that game. But, yeah, I don't know. Like a Sam Walsh could be a good shout as well. Zach Merritt against the Eagles.
Yeah, I like that.
As a captaincy call as well. If you want to try and do something a bit different, but... Yeah, I don't know.
Not a bad one for a VC, and then you can go Bont on the Sunday as well against the Hawks, right?
Yeah, Bont hasn't been doing the big Bont captaincy scores for a while, but you'd think Hawthorn's not travelling too well at the moment.
Well, unless Bevo plonks him at full forward again
Yes,
and gives someone else a run in the midfield. I know Q Clash is also Sunday night as well, so Matty Rowell, shout
like
there. I know.
Is that the Gabba, though? So that's away from Gold Coast home, so they might be bad.
They might be terrible.
But in the game, the Battle of the Bridge that you mentioned, Tom Green obviously coming off a 159. He averages 136 in his past 3 against the Swans. So
not bad.
Is that one at the SCG or is it at the
it is at the SCG.
showground for livestock? Being a smaller ground, that could work in his favour.
Nice. There we go. Lots of options.
Too many options.
Rivalry round actually gives us some very, very cool, fun captaincy options. Name game. It's a game of names. Let's do some names. Al, you got back on the board here with another win in the Battle of the Garcias. I had Riley. I had Hugo. You had Riley. Hugo had 40. Riley had 64.
Yeah, neither of them were that good, to be honest. But, I'll take the win.
And this week we're going Rao freeze for Matty Rao versus Grundy freeze against. Wicked.
So I looked these up. Grundy leads the competition for freeze against with 22. That's 6 more than the next worst. And Rao leads the competition for freeze for. He's had 26, which is 9 more than the next best. And he had 7 on the weekend. So who do you like out of those two? Or not like. I don't know how you word this.
I'm probably going to go the Grundy freeze against.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. I think it's just the umpires hate his hair. Simple as that. They're just like, nah, do not like you, Brodie Grundy. They basically just patches on the old dog and bone to the umpires like week in, week out, and just Brodie Grundy, come on, make me look like an idiot. Come on, please, please, please. And here we are.
No comment.
Sweet. So you'll go the Raoul freeze 4.
Yep.
Al.
So I'll be cheering every time he gets the whistle, gets in and under, and the umpires like that apparently.
Nice one. All right, Monday moves. Before we go, what's your Monday trade patch?
Look, I said I wasn't going to comment on Grundy, so I have to refrain from going too into details. But Matt Rowell comes in and, like an Isaac Rankin or someone else comes in as well. Dillmore at the moment, I think, is in there. And don't worry about where the money's coming from. Don't worry about it. It's fine. It will turn into, I think, just Jordan Dawson in and, just 2 trades. But
nice.
For now, no comment.
Nice one. Al?
The first trade, very easy. Jeremy Sharp straight out. That happened very soon after lockout last night. And then as Patch alluded to, you can sort of do a bit of DPP trickery and say move Sharp out, put Harley Reid or someone up into the midfield, Cohen Livingston down into the forward line and bring in Jordon Sweet. So you're basically trading Sharp for Sweet, making 150 grand or 200 grand on the deal. I'm pretty happy with that. And then the next one, Zach Williams, I think probably is going this week. That leaves me a tiny bit short of Sarong, who I really want. So do I boost to get to him, or do I settle for maybe Jordan Dawson? Like, I think that's still a very good option. As you said, Showdown, he's looked a lot better the last couple of weeks, playing with the sort of confidence that we saw last year and putting up some really good scores. He was absolutely flying in Hobart, and he could have easily scored another 150, but he sort of was rested for a lot of the last quarter. Obviously, the game was well and truly over, so he's looking in really good form. So that's probably the more sensible move. I've got plenty of rookies I could trade out to make a third trade, but finding another one to bring in is a bit of a battle. So maybe we'll see the team sheets, see what happens.
Yeah, I'm booting, obviously, Sharp, and I moved on from Zach Williams last week. I think this week it's Massimo, and I'm all guns blazing to get Errol Goulden into the side now.
Nice.
Trying to get him in, get it locked in, loaded, be happy, move on from there. So I think I'll boost to make that happen, because I've still got a Jack Carroll losing me money on the bench, which is just breaking my heart.
Yeah, those are the sort of guys that, Dempsey, we talked about a few of them that have to go. What's we didn't mention Gould on our list. What's he down to? 588.
Ooh,
yeah.
He looks just good against the Hawks too.
And he sort of just hit that point where he broke even. He was fantastic against the Hawks, so that was a fun game yesterday. There you go, though. But that's it. That's it for the Round 8 preview. I'll tell you what. It's getting the meaty chunk of the season. I'll tell you what. This is where the super coaches are separated from the coaches. Be more super, just saying. All right. Remember to dig into all things SuperCoach, of course, across Twitter, YouTube, IG, TikTok, all the good things there. You can check out the Phantoms Lair podcast as well on this feed. Rate the show on Spotify. Check it on YouTube as well. And remember, sign up to SuperCoach Plus. You can track all your live scores like we did during the AFL Today Show live stream the other day, Al. How much fun was that?
That was awesome, actually.
Just hanging out.
Harvey Harrison, we didn't mention him.
Fantastic. What a gun, Harvey Harrison. But for all the other insights you need, codesports.com.au. It's very good. For all the latest news and fun gear as well, smash the AFL Today Show. There's always lots going on there. Thank you to Patch once more.
Thank you.
Thank you to Al.
Thanks, James.
And thanks, of course, to Phantom over there. And remember, I've been Jaymz Clements. Happy super coaching.